Hello everyone, welcome to yet another video. My name is Imad, and in today's video we will take a look at AI TextGen Python package, which is written by Max Wolf, who's a data scientist at BuzzFeed. This is a robust Python tool for text-based AI training and generation using GPT-2 and GPT-3. So you can use either of the models and create your own text-based AI generation tool. Right? Sounds really fun, sounds really fascinating. In this video, I will take you through how you can start using this package right away. So there is some README, you can definitely go and check it out. I have taken some of these things and tried to show you around how you can start creating your own machine or your own text generation tool. I would perhaps also need to open aitextgen.py later on when I am trying to go through some of the parameters, but it's good for now. Let me quickly get started with the demo. So the first step with any Python package is to install the package, right? So in this case, as suggested in the README, we will use the pip command to install it. And if you're working in a project, you might want to do it on the command line, but I will go ahead and show this entire demo on this Google Colab. In fact, it's going to be two Google Colabs. One Google Colab, I have already run some training data, and I will perhaps switch to that later. But for now, I will show you over here. So this is a brand new collab. There's nothing run on this. So I'm going to go ahead and run this, and let's install AI TextGen first. Okay, so it behind the scenes, as mentioned in the README, where is the README? As yeah, it leverages PyTorch, Hugging Face transformers, and PyTorch Lightning with specific optimizations for text generation using GPT-2, plus many added features. Uh, Again, Max Wolf has other text generation tools like TextGen RNN and GPT-2 Simple, and this is supposed to be like a next level of, or rather, an improvement over the other two tools. And basically, what you can do is you can fine tune on pre-trained 124M, 355M, 774M parameter GPT-2 models from OpenAI, or you could use the models from Elithier AI, GPT Neo slash GPT-3. So you could do that, or you could also use the pre-trained models themselves, which we will initially use in the demo. So I hope the installation is done already. Okay, there's an error. Pip's dependency resolve does not take account. You must restart the runtime in order to use the newly installed versions. Let's restart the runtime. There's no local variable yet, so no problem if I restart. Did I restart? I did restart. Okay, I think it must have restarted. And now let me run. All right. This time successfully it has run, and we have perhaps managed to install AI TextGen already. So once the installation is done, we can now start using the package. It's as simple as that. And the way we are going to do that is we are going to use the GPT-2 model for the purpose of this demo. We are going to create an instance of the AI TextGen class that you will see here. If that's why I had opened it earlier. So this class AI TextGen, and we're going to create an instance of that and pass different parameters. In this case, we're going to pass the model GPT-2 parameter, and we're going to reference this variable going forward, this instance rather, not variable. So let me just quickly run that to create an instance of this AI TextGen class, which will download the smallest GPT-2 model onto the local. Okay, I have AI now, and I'm going to use this AI instance to generate. And there is this generate function that that is used often over here. Okay, and the reason why I'm here is to show you the number of parameters that you can set. Specifically, we will take a look at this doc string. So it says n number of text to generate, and we say 2 in this case. Prompt is basically the text to force the generated text to start with. So if I give a prompt, the statement will always start with this given prompt. Maximum length is the maximum length for the generated text. Temperature determines the creativity of the generated text. Do sample samples the text, which is what we want. If false, the generated text will be the optimal prediction at each time and therefore deterministic. Return as list is a boolean which will determine if the text should be returned as a list. If it is false, the generated text will be printed to console. I think in this case we will want to print to console, but if you are, say, implementing an API, you might want to say return a list. Seed, numeric seed, which sets all randomness. So these are the different parameters you can play with. In this case, I'm going to set n equal to 2, prompt, say, Indian government, max length is 350, temperature 0.7, do sample true, which is what we want, return as list true or false in this case. Let's just print it and see it 42. And this should already be it. It should automatically start generating sentences that start with Indian government. Now, what if you don't want a prompt? And I will perhaps quickly show you that as well by creating that. Now you want the AI system to generate without any prompt provided, right? So we can also run that. Let's just wait for the other cell to run and then we can run this. And basically I don't give any prompt and then it randomly picks up a few sentences and then generates it. Okay. So this is what we get. So we get 2 sentences with Indian government as the prompt. Indian government has not been able to convince the world that it has any interest in doing what the United States is doing as a partner and can lead the world in providing clean energy to meet the needs of a growing country. So what's the problem? I'm not talking about the fact that there is no single global leader and the United States is not one of them. I'm talking about the fact that the United States has made very significant strides to the last decade in energy independence in the form of cutting emissions in nearly half, and this is so coherent that you could easily mistake this to be written by a human. So that is one paragraph. Max length is 350. Another paragraph is Indian government has asked the center to take a look at the issue. It is an issue that is not easily addressed as it is not a matter of debate. It is a matter of policy, but the government is not acting on it. We should not be doing that. A petition is filed against the central government to have it removed from the list of organizations linked to Kashmiris. The petition, which has been filed against the central government in the Lok Sabha, asks the center to take a look at it. Issue, it is an issue that is not easily addressed as it is not a matter of debate, it is a matter of policy. Now you see that the model sometimes goes in this uncanny valley where it starts repeating things, and this has been the case with some text generation models. So like we saw in the previous example, or rather the first example we saw was quite coherent without any repetition. In this case, this is not a sentence that you can use directly as it is. So what can you do? So and that's one of the drawbacks of some of the older text generation models where you had the problem of the model getting stuck in a loop where it kept repeating its output. This has been solved to some extent in the next further iterations of the model, but this is a known problem, and usually in this case what you do is you change the random seed and then you look for another generation with the same prompt. Let me quickly show you the other generation without any prompt, and I hope this one will run quickly. So this can be anything that the model wants to randomly generate. There's no prompt. It might not be even about the same thing, right? And again, I'm giving n equal to 2 because I want 2 examples. So this is already it, right? You can use the pre-trained model and start generating the sentences that you want with a prompt in this, and then we'll see now without a prompt. And you can also vary the temperature around. I will not do that right now, but as you move up and down, okay, there's an output. So for me, the hardest thing was trying to understand why I was not doing what I was doing at all. There's no one else who would think I was doing it. The question was posed to him by his mother, who was pregnant with his son before he was born. He said, so there's sort of a dual going on here. And then the second statement is categories, select category, aim, and music history, drama dancing, drama dancer, dancing dancer, dance performance. I think these are different categories that you will want to select on a screen on in an Oscar show, I guess. And again, we're seeing the same problem in this case that we saw in the previous example, but now you see two different and completely random sentences. Okay, so that is all about using pre-trained GPT-2 to generate sentences with and without a prompt. But what if this is not enough and you have already a style and already a way in which you want your model to generate text? And that is what we will see in the next part, which is basically fine-tuning GPT-2 in this case, but you can also use GPT-3 or any other model that you have for your dataset and then retraining it. Okay, so in this case, what I did was I went to Kaggle and got the Indian news headlines dataset. This is what it is, and that's why I've kept this tab open. So there is this 20 years of excuse me. So there is this 20 years of headlines focusing on India. I think I can show you a little bit of data here. Yeah, headlines text. So you have status quo will not be disturbed. Ayodhya says what spy? Fissures in Harriet over Pak visit. America's unwanted heading for India. For bigwigs, it is destination Goa, etc., etc. So all these different news headlines, right? So that is what we will train our model to be able to generate text as. So we're going to train the style of generation as somewhat similar to generating a news headline. Sounds fascinating, right? So far, whatever generation we've seen is not in that format, but you will see that we will be able to train our model to start generating text in that format. So what I went ahead and did was basically downloaded the CSV from there, uploaded it to my Google Drive, and then I'm reading that CSV here. So let me go ahead and quickly read that. File not found. That's perhaps because I have not mounted. Or have I not? I need to mount. Yes, connect to Google Drive. Yeah, now you can see Drive here. I'm not going to open the contents there because it's my Drive. Okay, so I think that issue should be gone, and yes, it's gone because I have the CSV already in my Drive. Okay, so we have published date, headline category, and headline text, 3 different columns, and we have over 3.4 million records. Yeah, and we are going to take a look at how the data looks. We already saw it on Kaggle, but it's the same again inside this notebook after I have read it. So what's more important to us, not the published date or the headline category, but the text, because we want our system to generate text in this format, right? So yeah, again, just to see how many different kinds of Headlines are there. There are about 3.1 million, which is not a bad number at all. Okay, so and that's that. What I have done. I will not run this, or maybe I can run this. That's fine. So what I've gone and done now is converted headline text, or rather saved a text file with only the headline text, because the fine tuning expects your training data in the form of a text file, right? So I've just done that. I've just taken headline text out and put it in a text file. And now we will start looking at the training data, or rather the training process. So aitextgen already has token dataset, tokenizer, it has a set of utils, and of course aitextgen that we've seen already. So we import all of these different things. And I will again quickly take you through line by line. This is an example that is already there on the README of aitextgen. So it's not something that I've written myself, but I will take you through this with the data that I got from Kaggle. So yeah, my file name is my headlines text is stored as file name, or rather I'm storing the name of the file with the variable name file underscore name, or rather the path, right? So, and then I will pass this to a train tokenizer, which will train a custom BP tokenizer on the downloaded text. Once that is done, it will save a file, which is aitextgen.tokenizer.json, which will contain the information that is needed to rebuild your tokenizer. Okay, so this is the name of the tokenizer file that will be stored after train tokenizer finishes, right? So the central idea is your text comes, and then there is a tokenizer that creates tokens, which could be used by the model to learn. So your text cannot be used in raw format, right? So that's why you need to tokenize it and then use that. There's also a config file, and in this case GPT-2 config CPU, which is a mini variant of GPT-2, which is optimized for CPU training. And yeah, in this case, for example, the number of input tokens is 64 versus say 1024 for base GPT-2. So trying to make this run faster. So if you just call this instance here and assign it to config, you will be using this to fine tune your model. And then finally, once you have your tokenizer file and if you have your config, you will pass that to aitextgen, which you've seen earlier, as the two different parameters, right? And then you instantiate AI. Then you want to also build your data set for training by creating token data set. So, and for this, you pass three different variables. You pass your file underscore name, or other three different parameters, file underscore name, tokenizer file, and your block size. So all of these three go as input to token data set, and that will give you your data that will be passed. Let me just quickly run this now and then talk more about. I should have actually run that earlier, but that's okay. So, and then you take this data and then you pass this to your AI.train function, and you set your batch size to 8. Number of steps is basically the number of steps you want to iterate the model for, generate every, and save every, right? So what happens is you start training the model for 25,000 steps, and periodically you will want to save the PyTorch underscore model.bin. So that's why you say save every 5,000 steps a PyTorch underscore model.bin file. Right? And after completion, push it to the train model folder. So that is what is going to happen in this step. So I have actually done this for 25,000 steps in my another Google Colab that you see. In this case, I will train the data for you, I'll train the model for you, but I will not do it for 25,000 steps because it will take around 45 minutes, and we don't have that time here. So I can change this to just 100, and I want the Pytorch_model.bin to be generated after 100 and save every equal to 100 as well, because this is just a demo. So what do you expect with this is you expect, because the number of passes are less, you expect the quality of the fine tuning to be bad. You will perhaps, and not perhaps, I think definitely see a lot of gibberish. And that is something that it's not very encouraging, but this increases, or this gets better as you increase the number of steps. So we will run it for 100 steps and we will see gibberish, but then I will also switch to the other collab, and then we will see some interesting results, and then we will finish this video. Meanwhile, we are having the data ready. I can quickly show you token dataset. I don't think it's a part of this. Yeah, token dataset. Where did we get to? Okay, token dataset is separately over here. Yeah, so class token dataset is the class that merges text dataset and line by line text dataset from run language modeling.py. What are the different parameters that it takes? It takes file path, which is a string indicating the relative file path of the text to be tokenized, or the cached dataset, in this case, which we've already done. We've given the file name as the file path. And then tokenizer file. It expects tokenizer file. If you see, tokenizer file. So it expects tokenizer file as well, and block size would also be there. So 1024 is default, but like we saw earlier, we are using a different version of GPT-2 config. So we are changing that to 64. And I think we are about 60% in to building the data set. And this is also the reason why I didn't want to show you the training part, which I will not show you eventually for more number of steps, because it will take time. This also is taking time because of the size of the data set that we have, right? So another way to speed this up would have been to reduce the size of the data set. Like we saw earlier, I have about 3.1 million headline text. So yes, we wait. Another interesting thing that I have not shown examples, but I can also talk about, is the different functions in AI text gen. So there's another function called generate1, which is a pretty cool function. So instead of using generate, you can go ahead and use generate1, which will generate a single text. So there's no n equal to 2 or n equal to 5 or anything, but you just say generate 1, and then you get one text as returned from this function. So yeah, like the function docstring says, it generates a single text and returns it as a string, useful for returning a generated text within an API. And essentially, if you see the way it has been implemented is that it calls generate with n equal to 1 and return as list equal to true. Like I said, if you want to, and then it takes the zeroth index, not indices, zeroth index to say that this is the sentence you would like to use, right? So if you just want one sentence and nothing else, then generate one is what you would like to use. There are other generate underscore functions, generate underscore samples, generate underscore to underscore file, which will generate a bulk amount of text to a file into a format that is good for manually inspecting and curating the text. Generate samples will print multiple samples to console at specified temperature so that you can see different samples and decide which temperature works well for you. So there are a lot of different functions in AI text gen that you could explore. I have just shown you the generic generate function, and I think, yeah, we have the data set ready and we are ready to train the model. Number of steps is 100. Let's hope it quickly gets over. Like I said, please don't expect the model to perform well, or I'm expecting it to be a lot of gibberish. But what you need to do to improve the performance is just to change the number of steps. The default that the author uses or has shown in the example is 50,000. The one that I have trained is 2,000, not 50,000, sorry, 5,000. Okay, and that's it, right? So you have the model ready, saving model. Oh, I think yeah, so I've generated, and then now I can read it from here and start generating with this prompt. But like I said, it's all gibberish. So what I'm doing now is I'm again creating an instance of this aitextgen class with the model folder from where I want to read. So train model is where, like I said, the model would be stored. You will have two files, config.json and pytouch underscore model.bin. So this is the binary file and the JSON file, and you also provide the tokenizer as input to your aitextgen, and then your instance is ready, and then you use the generate function with all the different parameters and start generating. Now, even though this is gibberish, I don't know if you've noticed, but you might have seen that the format of the output is already in short sentences rather than how we saw it earlier, where we had longer sentences. So now you're already seeing shorter sentences as output. And now I will show you what I had generated earlier. And this is why I didn't want to train, because I had trained this earlier on the number of steps as 25,000, right? So compare 100 and 25,000, you will see a difference here. And I was saving every 5,000 and generating and saving after every 5,000 step. And I'm not going to run this again because I think I've overwritten the previous model. But even before I try that, I'm just going to show you this. It's the same example with the prompt Indian government, and you see Indian government 91% in center satellite. Now House create need Congress to give handle light. PM Modi's wants to grab. Now most of these sentences don't make sense. Indian government engineering construction, Trichy boy industrial, CI Sion, privatization center, Delhi to appear for Bihar one. And in fact, some of these words also don't make sense. But you already see that it's getting the words right, it's getting some of the meaning right. So PM and Modi go together, it understands that in this case, and Trichy boy industrial. So It's starting to make sense. I would have ideally wanted to run this for more number of steps, but that would need more time and more compute. I mean, I had compute, I didn't have the time to run this and check the output. So this is what I have right now. And this is clearly short sentences and clearly very different from what we saw here with the same prompt, but for not fine-tuned. Where is that? It's the same prompt, but I've not fine-tuned this, right? It's the GPT-2 default model that's being used. And this one has been fine-tuned on Indian news headlines dataset. Difference in the style, difference in the vocabulary, difference in the way the data is being generated. Of course, the quality is not that great. The quality, I'm sure, would improve with more iterations and more experiments on the temperature, and also perhaps even the base model on which I'm using to fine tune. This is again the one with lesser number of parameters. But if I have a model with more number of parameters, then perhaps I would be able to fine tune better. Right. So those could be areas that you could work on and improve to get a better quality model. But I think this is already a good place to get started and start working towards building your own GPT-2 or even GPT-3 generated text generation tool, right? So now you can go ahead and build your own GPT-2 and GPT-3 text generation tool using just a few lines of code, thanks to Max Wolf's AI text gen tool. And that's all that I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video is useful, and I hope you go on to make some of these text generation tools. Please do like, share, and comment on this video if you found it really interesting. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because your subscription will motivate me to keep creating more such videos. Until then, until I see you in the next video, have a good time, and until next time.